Global War 36 enthusiast here with a video on understanding battlecruisers. This video is requested by Blue Cassius. I had promised that I would do an understanding battlecruisers video, and then it dropped off my radar, so I really appreciate getting a little nudge there to get this done. So let's talk first about battlecruisers getting designated as raiders. The only units in the game that can be designated as raiders are battlecruisers. It's a designation that can only be initiated during the combat movement phase. Let's say that this battlecruiser wants to move through the Straits of Gibraltar, but there are a little British Navy there of a light carrier, a heavy cruiser, a destroyer, and a fighter. Normally, if you entered with a surface ship, if the battlecruiser moved into that sea zone A44, it would have to fight those units. But with this special ability to be designated as a raider, during the combat movement phase, you could put your battlecruiser on a little raider marker like this, and then it gains some special abilities. One of those special abilities is that it could try to do what's called slipping through, where it tries to slip through the defending units and just kind of pass by like a ghost in a way. We'll talk about how you determine if it succeeds or if it gets caught. But that's one special ability that you gain, is this slipping through enemy units. Another thing that happens when a battlecruiser is designated as a defender, before this was what happens when it's an attacker moving through or slipping through, but as a defender, when it's on raiding status, enemy units may ignore it. They don't have to engage in naval combat. So if the British ships wanted to move by, just like when a ship is on escort duty, you may ignore it. When a ship is on raiding, designated as a raider, as a defender, it can be ignored. You don't have to engage in naval combat. If the enemy decides to engage a defending raider battlecruiser, then there's a battlecruiser die roll that we'll talk about later to see if the battlecruiser kind of slipped away. It's called successfully slipped away. So it can slip through when it's on the attacker. It can try to get through some units. When it's the defender and it wants to avoid combat, these units come in and they do want to try to hunt it and find it. It has this special ability as a raider to slip away, and we'll talk about how that works. If let's get out a destroyer. Let's say that there was a destroyer in sea zone A43, and you have this battlecruiser that's designated as a raider, but you also have this destroyer in the same sea zone. The only types of units that can be designated as raiders are battlecruisers. So this destroyer cannot be designated as a raider, and it can't essentially slip away the same way. So if these units are defending together and the British player were to move in here and attack, if they are attacking now, this battlecruiser has to decide, do I want to participate in the combat or not? Of course, if the battlecruiser doesn't try to slip away, well, then it's going to participate, right? If it doesn't want to participate, then you have to do that battlecruiser die roll that we're going to talk about in a moment to see if the battlecruiser slips away. So if that were the case, these units would move in here. Let's say we do a battlecruiser die roll, and then it slips away. Only the destroyer would fight the British ships. You cannot, when the battlecruiser is a raider, it cannot attack opposing naval units together with other units. So you'd have to take it off. If you wanted these two units to attack the British units here, say that you wanted this sub to join in, then you'd have to take it off rating status to attack. It has to, if it's going to be attacking with other units, it has to be off rating status. So what is this battlecruiser die roll that I'm talking about? You use a D12 to do your battlecruiser die roll, and a battlecruiser always gets +8 to whatever you roll. The opponent of the battlecruiser, they have several modifiers. Let's see if I can get this there, get this on camera. So modifiers for the opponent, and these are cumulative, +1 per surface ship that's brought into that sea zone, +4 per aircraft with an attack value. What does that mean with an attack value? It means you can't use air transports to hunt down battle cruisers. Since the only attack value that strategic bombers and heavy strategic bombers have is carpet bombing or interception, it would not have any attack value in a sea zone. And +6 if you've developed radar, if the opponent has developed radar. So you add up those values. So let's look at what would happen. Let's take this destroyer out and just say that the battlecruiser here is the defending player, and the British bring in this navy here. So they have +1 for each of the surface ships and +4 for the fighter. So they would get a +7, and the battlecruisers automatically have a +8. So if these guys came in here trying to hunt the battlecruiser and the battlecruiser wanted to try to slip away, then we would roll and 1d12 essentially with a +1 because it's +8, and these guys are +7. And if the battlecruiser succeeds, then they are able to slip away. Or if they were moving into here and the battlecruiser succeeded, they could slip through. Now they'd still face this coastal gun there in Gibraltar because they're doing a combat move through a strait, but they would be successful in slipping through if they won that die roll. So the highest die wins. If there's a tie, then you just roll again. And let's say there were 2 battlecruisers in here. I've never seen that. That doesn't usually happen. But if there were 2 battlecruisers, then let's say they both decided they wanted to slip away. They're not operating together, right? They're operating separately if there's 2 different raiders. So you'd have one roll for battlecruiser A and a separate roll for battlecruiser B. You'd have one roll with the hunters against battlecruiser A, and you'd have a different roll with the hunters against battlecruiser B. I don't think that is gonna come up very often. Note, here's a really important thing to note, which is the aircraft that has the attack value, it does not need to be on map. Map is really about submarines, right? It's not the battlecruiser can be found by a plane. It's a lot easier for the aircraft to see the smoke from a battleship or a battlecruiser than it would be to see a sub that might be under the water for an extended period of time. So be wary about aircraft within range. So one thing to think about is a battlecruiser in the Pacific or Indian Ocean might have more safety from aircraft than, say, a battlecruiser in the Atlantic. And this is why perhaps this battlecruiser would go down here. Oops, that's off map, but move down to the West African line. Or if America's in the war, then they might convoy raid Rio de Janeiro line. Okay, radar, we talked about, gives a +6 modifier to the opposing battlecruiser die roll. So the time to use battlecruisers as raiders in the Atlantic is typically earlier in the war, particularly if Commonwealth isn't researching radar or is just rolling horribly for that technology. USA, if they are not prioritizing radar, then designating a German battlecruiser as a radar or as a raider and convoy rating can tie up some units to hunt them down. Similarly, Japan can designate their battlecruiser as a raider in the Indian or Pacific Oceans. Okay, so let's talk about convoy rating battle cruisers. So if the battle cruiser moves in and convoy raids, say this West African line, we're 3 here. Attacking battle cruisers can engage in convoy raiding regardless of whether or not they're on raiding status or not on raiding status. So you don't have to be on raiding status to do convoy raiding. I think a lot of times folks think, oh, if a submarine is convoy raiding, that means it's a raider. No, that's not true. Being a raider has special designations: the ability to slip through, ability to slip away, but it doesn't mean that you're able then to do convoy raiding. You can convoy raid whether you're a raider or whether you're not a raider. Either way, it's the same. You don't get any kind of bonus for convoy raiding on the attacking player's turn, but convoy raiding battle cruisers do have an advantage on their defending turn if they're on raiding status, right? Because you could be on raiding status, do a convoy raid, and then when you're a defender, if they come hunting for you, you have a better chance of surviving. Okay, convoy raiding battleships are essentially like coastal submarines. They get a +1, or aircraft. The aircraft get a +1 too. Here's an interesting thing about how effective convoy raiding battle cruisers are. Escort ships that are in that sea zone, like normally this escort ship would give a +1 to the convoy defending die roll, but they do not give a +1 when it's a battle cruiser rolling. So these guys ignore that. So that's a special little bonus that raiding battle cruisers have, whether they're on raiding designation or not. And another interesting thing is that anti-submarine warfare technology does give a +1 to the defender's modified roll, but battle cruisers are not at risk from the defensive roll of a D12 at 2, the kind of inherent escort ship kind of thing. Let's say that line has, or the British player has developed anti-submarine warfare. It does give them a +1 to their D6 roll, the defender's D6 roll, but they don't have a chance at destroying the battlecruiser. So if you have any questions about designating a battlecruiser as a raider or understanding anything else about battlecruisers, please let me know. Maybe one other little pearl I would throw out there is if you ever do get a target selection against a group of naval units that has a battlecruiser, that's the tastiest thing you can, one of the tastiest things you can choose. Let's say you have a tactical bomber or your submarine rolls a 1. Typically the first thing you're going to pick is a battlecruiser. Now, you might end up picking, say, a damaged battleship or double damaged heavy battleship. That would definitely be a better option. But usually what happens is if there's any battlecruisers, they don't last very much longer than the early rounds because they're getting targeted. So if you have any questions, let me know, and Happy New Year.